My name is Veronica, and I am 39 years old. For as long as I can remember, my family's villa has stood like a monument to our legacy, a sprawling estate of stone and timber built by my late father's own hands. It wasn't just a house, it was the crown jewel of our history, filled with echoes of laughter, secrets whispered across hallways, and the scent of roses that my mother once tended in the courtyard. I thought I had everything: a loyal husband, two beautiful children, and a life that many would envy. At least, that's what I believed. My husband, Daniel, was charming, always the center of attention at gatherings with his silver tongue and disarming smile. He had been my rock in my early years when I was unsure of myself, when grief from losing my parents threatened to drown me. He was older, more experienced, and he made me feel safe, at least in the beginning. My sister Clara was different. She was wild, unpredictable, and selfish. Younger than me by 2 years, she had always envied everything I had: my grades, my friends, my husband. Where I chose stability, she craved chaos. Yet I loved her. After our parents died, I felt it was my duty to protect her, even when she made it impossible. I should have known she would destroy me. The first cracks appeared on a humid summer night. Daniel was working late, or so he claimed, while I sat on the terrace with a glass of wine, gazing at the roses. I remember hearing Clara's laughter drift from the guest wing of the villa. It was sharp, too intimate, almost conspiratorial. When I entered, the sound stopped abruptly. "Veronica," Clara said with a too bright smile, "we were just reminiscing." Daniel emerged from the shadows behind her, his tie loosened, his shirt collar open. My heart fluttered uneasily. "You two seem close," I remarked. Daniel chuckled, brushing it off. "Your sister was telling me about her latest misadventures. Nothing serious." But the way they exchanged glances told me otherwise. At first, I dismissed it. Clara was flirtatious by nature. Daniel was attentive to everyone. But slowly, the signs multiplied. Daniel's unexplained absences, Clara's smug little smiles, the way my children, Ethan, 15, and Lily, 12, sometimes seemed to listen more to Clara than to me. One night, I overheard something that froze my blood. Lily was whispering to Clara in the kitchen. "Auntie, why do I look more like you than Mommy?" My hand trembled on the doorknob. Clara's answer came in a low, soothing tone. "Because, sweetheart, sometimes family resemblances skip generations. Don't worry about it." I backed away before they could see me, my heart pounding. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with questions I didn't dare voice. Weeks later, I found an old letter tucked away in my father's study. His handwriting, neat and deliberate, filled the page. It was addressed to me, though I had never seen it before. "My dearest Veronica," it read, "if you are reading this, then the truth I feared has come to pass. Clara cannot be trusted. Her recklessness, her envy, they will consume her, and she will not hesitate to destroy you in the process. Protect yourself, protect your children, for one day she may come for what is yours." The letter fell from my trembling hands. Father had known. And suddenly, all the pieces began to shift into place. But nothing could prepare me for the storm that was about to descend upon me, tearing apart every illusion I had ever clung to. The letter haunted me. Every night I read those lines, Father's warning echoing in my head. "Clara cannot be trusted. She will destroy you." But how? Daniel and I had our troubles. 15 years of marriage left cracks even in the strongest bonds. But I never thought my own sister would be the wedge driven between us. One morning, I decided to confront Daniel, if only to ease my restless heart. "Daniel," I asked over breakfast, watching him butter his toast with that infuriating calm, "do you spend much time with Clara when I'm not around?" He didn't flinch. He didn't even look up. "She's your sister, Veronica. She lives here. Am I supposed to ignore her?" His tone was light, dismissive. too light. I studied him, but his face betrayed nothing. Years of being a successful lawyer had trained him well in masking his emotions. Still, something in my gut twisted. Later that day, as I walked past the guest wing, I heard voices. Clara's giggle, Daniel's deep murmur. My hand hovered over the doorknob, but I forced myself away. I wasn't ready to face what I might see. That night, however, the choice was taken from me. I awoke around midnight, parched, and wandered downstairs for a glass of water. Passing the study, I froze. The door was slightly ajar, and through the gap I saw Clara and Daniel, close, too close. Daniel's hand lingered on her arm. Clara leaned into him, whispering something that made him smile. I dropped the glass I was holding. It shattered against the floor, the sound sharp as a gunshot. They sprang apart. Daniel rushed forward, his face pale. "Veronica, what are you doing awake?" I stared at them both, my voice cold. "What are you doing, Daniel?" Clara smirked, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "You're imagining things, sister. You've always been too dramatic." But I wasn't imagining it. I could still see the way Daniel's hand had rested on her, the intimacy in their posture. "I want you out, Clara," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Tomorrow, pack your things and leave." Her smirk widened. "You'd throw me out of my own father's villa?" The words struck like a slap. My father's villa, not ours, hers. Something in her tone made me wonder. Did she know about Father's letter? Did she know secrets I didn't? Daniel stepped in quickly, wrapping an arm around me. "Veronica, please. It was nothing. She was upset and I was comforting her. Don't let your imagination run wild." But the way Clara's lips curved, the way her eyes glittered, told me otherwise. The next morning, I found Ethan in the garden, looking troubled. "Mom," he asked quietly, "why are you and Dad fighting so much lately?" My heart ached. "We're not fighting, sweetheart. Just disagreements." He hesitated. "Aunt Clara says you're too strict, that you don't understand Dad. That's why he spends more time with her." The words cut deeper than any blade. Clara was poisoning him against me, against his own mother. And then came the final blow. 2 weeks later, as I returned from the market, I found the living room filled with strangers. Lawyers, contractors, people I had never met. Daniel and Clara stood at the center, papers spread across the table. "What is going on?" I demanded. Daniel turned, his smile forced. "Veronica, don't be alarmed. Clara and I were just discussing the villa's future." "The villa's future?" My voice rose. "This house belongs to me, to my children." Clara's laugh rang out, sharp and cruel. "Oh, sister, you really don't know, do you? Father left this villa in both our names. It's as much mine as it is yours. And I've decided to make some changes." I felt the blood drain from my face. "You can't. You wouldn't." "I already have," Clara interrupted smoothly, holding up the signed documents. "And Daniel agrees with me. Isn't that right?" Daniel avoided my eyes. His silence was answer enough. In that moment, the truth crashed over me like a tidal wave. The betrayal wasn't in the shadows anymore. It was in broad daylight, written in ink and stamped with legal seals. My sister had stolen not just my husband's loyalty, but the very roof over my head. And she wasn't finished yet. The villa no longer felt like mine. Every corridor echoed with Clara's laughter. Every room smelled faintly of her perfume. She had taken over the guest wing entirely, and Daniel made no effort to stop her. Instead, he spent more evenings there than in our own bedroom. I tried to shield the children from the tension, but they weren't blind. Ethan had grown distant, almost rebellious. Lily, my sweet 12-year-old, became more withdrawn, spending hours whispering with Clara. One evening, as I passed Lily's room, I heard muffled voices. Curious, I pressed my ear against the door. "But Aunt Clara, Lily's voice trembled. "Sometimes I feel like you're more of a mother to me than Mom is." My breath caught in my throat. Clara's reply was low, coaxing. "That's because I understand you better, darling. And maybe there's a reason you feel so close to me."
"What do you mean?" Lily asked. There was a pause. Then Clara whispered, "One day, you'll know. For now, just trust me." I stumbled back, my heart pounding. What did she mean? Why was she planting such poisonous thoughts in my daughter's mind? The next morning, I tried to talk to Lily. "Sweetheart," I began gently. "You know I love you more than anything, right?" She nodded, but her eyes darted away. "Aunt Clara says love is more than words. She says real love is truth." Truth. The words sent a chill down my spine. That night, I confronted Daniel. "What is Clara telling Lily?" He stiffened. "What do you mean?" "She's confusing her. She's making her think." I broke off, tears of frustration welling. "Daniel, you need to put a stop to this. You're her father." His expression shifted, something dark flickering in his eyes. "Veronica, you don't understand." "Then make me understand," I snapped. He hesitated, then muttered, "Clara just connects with her differently. Maybe because Lily has always been a little more like Clara than you." The words felt like daggers. "What are you saying, Daniel?" But he turned away, refusing to meet my gaze. The following week brought the breaking point. I was sorting through old family photographs when I noticed something strange. A picture of Lily as a toddler, her hair lighter than I remembered, her eyes strikingly similar to Clara's. Next to it, a picture of Clara at the same age. The resemblance was uncanny. My stomach lurched. No, it couldn't be. Desperate, I searched Father's study again. This time, I found a locked drawer I had overlooked. Inside was a sealed envelope addressed to me. My hands shook as I tore it open. "My dear Veronica," the letter began, "there is something you were never told. When Lily was born, I kept a secret to protect you. She is not fully yours. Clara and Daniel." The words blurred as tears flooded my eyes. Lily? My daughter, my precious girl. She wasn't mine. She was theirs. The room spun. I clutched the desk for support, gasping for air. Father had known. He had known, and he had hidden it. That night, I confronted Clara, unable to hold back any longer. "You evil witch," I spat, slamming the letter down on the table. How could you? How could you steal my daughter from me?" Clara picked up the letter calmly, her lips curling into a cold smile. "So, you finally know." You let me raise her as my own," my voice broke. "You lied to me every single day." Clara's eyes glittered with triumph. "I didn't lie, Veronica. I gave you a gift. You were barren for years, remember? Lily gave your life purpose. Without me, you would have had nothing." The audacity of her words made me shake with rage. "A gift? She's not a gift, she's my daughter." "No," Clara corrected softly, leaning in so close I could smell the wine on her breath. "She's mine, always has been, and now that she's old enough to know the truth, she'll choose me over you." At that moment, Lily entered the room. She looked between us, confusion on her face. "What's going on?" Clara smiled sweetly, her mask slipping back into place. "Nothing, darling. Mommy's just upset. She'll calm down." But Lily's eyes lingered on me, wide and uncertain, as if deep down she already knew. And in that instant, I realized Clara wasn't just after Daniel. She wanted everything: my children, my home, my entire life. And she wouldn't stop until she had it all. After that night, nothing was the same. Every time I looked at Lily, my heart split in two. Part of me still saw the baby I had cradled,
the little girl whose laughter had once lit up the villa. But another part of me saw Clara smirk, Daniel's shadow, an unholy union that had been forced upon me without my knowledge. Clara began to grow bolder. She walked the halls as though she already owned the villa. She whispered to the children, sometimes even in front of me, daring me to stop her. But it was Ethan who worried me most. He had always been quiet, thoughtful, the kind of boy who hid behind books rather than confrontations. But lately, he had turned cold, distant. His eyes, once warm with trust, now flickered with doubt every time they landed on me. One evening, I found him sitting alone in the garden, staring at the fountain. "Ethan," I said softly, "is everything all right?" He didn't look at me. "Why are you and Dad fighting all the time?" I swallowed hard. "Because sometimes people don't agree, but that doesn't mean we don't love you." He was silent for a long time, then said, almost in a whisper, "Aunt Clara says love isn't enough. She says family is about truth. She says sometimes the person you think is your mother isn't." My blood froze. "Ethan, don't listen to her," I said, my voice shaking. "You are my son. Nothing changes that." He finally turned to me, his eyes searching mine. "But why do I look nothing like you, Mom? Why do I have Clara's eyes?" The question stabbed through me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He was right. How had I never noticed before? His eyes, the same piercing shade of Clara's. I forced a smile, though my hands trembled. "Families share traits in strange ways, Ethan. Please, don't doubt me." But doubt had already taken root. That night, I returned to Father's journals. If he had written about Lily, maybe there was more. And there was. In the back of one journal, nearly hidden between pages, I found another letter. The words blurred as I read, my tears falling onto the fragile paper. "Veronica, if you are reading this, then the burden of truth is yours. Lily was not the only child Clara bore. Years ago, before your marriage was strong, Clara seduced Daniel. The boy that came from it, Ethan, is not yours. He is hers. Forgive me, daughter, for not telling you sooner. I feared it would break you." The letter slipped from my hands. The room spun. My knees buckled beneath me, and I sank to the floor, gasping. No, not Ethan, not my boy, but the resemblance, the distance, Clara's quiet favoritism, it all made sense now. Both of my children, both of them stolen from me, their lives built on lies. I stormed into the guest wing, where Clara was lounging with a glass of wine. She looked up lazily as I entered, as though she had been expecting me. "You monster," I hissed. "Ethan too? You couldn't leave me anything?" Her smirk widened. "Finally figured it out, have you? Took you long enough." "Yes, Veronica. Ethan and Lily, both mine. Both Daniel's. You've been raising my children all these years. You should be thanking me." I lunged at her, but she slipped away effortlessly, laughing. "Don't look so shocked, sister. Did you really think Daniel ever loved you? You were just convenient, a cover. I've always been the one he wanted." My rage boiled over. "You may have tricked me, Clara, but you will not take them away from me. They're mine now, no matter whose blood runs in their veins." Her eyes gleamed with malice. "We'll see about that." And in that moment, I knew the battle wasn't over. It was only beginning. Clara and Daniel had already stolen the truth. Now they wanted to steal the children themselves. And I would burn the entire villa to the ground before I let that happen. The morning after that revelation, I awoke with a single consuming thought. I will not lose my children. Blood meant nothing to me anymore. Ethan and Lily had been mine since their first breaths. I had bandaged their scraped knees, sung them to sleep, held them when nightmares clawed at their tiny hearts. Nothing Clara or Daniel said could rewrite that. But they tried, Oh, how they tried. Within days, Daniel served me with divorce papers. Not only that, but custody papers as well. He and Clara stood united, demanding both Ethan and Lily be returned to them, as though I had stolen them instead of raising them. The audacity nearly drove me insane. The villa became a battleground. Lawyers marched in and out, their briefcases heavy with lies and evidence twisted to Clara's advantage. Rumors spread in town, whispered gossip that painted me as a delusional woman clinging to children who weren't hers. And worst of all, Ethan began to slip away from me. He spent more time with Clara, listening to her poisoned words. I saw it in his eyes: confusion, betrayal, shame. Lily, too, though younger, clung to Clara's side, her little hands reaching for the woman she now believed was her real mother. My heart cracked with every step they took away from me. The day of the custody hearing, I sat in the courtroom, my hands trembling in my lap. Daniel sat smugly across from me, Clara at his side like a queen, radiating triumph. My children sat behind them, too afraid to meet my eyes. The judge called order. Lawyers spoke. Documents were presented. Then Clara stood, her voice dripping with venom wrapped in sugar. Your Honor, Veronica has lived a lie for years. She raised my children as her own, knowing deep down they weren't hers. It is cruel to force them to continue under such delusion. They deserve to know the truth, to live with their rightful parents. I shot to my feet. No! My voice cracked, echoing through the chamber. I am their mother. I don't care what your twisted bloodline says. I fed them, I loved them, I sacrificed everything for them. You, I pointed a shaking finger at her, you only appear when it suits your greed. The judge silenced me with the gavel, but fate had one last card to play. As Daniel was questioned, the lawyer pressed harder about timelines, about the overlap between his marriage and Clara's hidden pregnancies. Daniel's arrogance cracked, sweat formed on his brow. His lies tangled until, in a moment of desperation, he shouted, "Fine, yes, they're mine, both of them. Veronica was never enough, so I turned to Clara. She gave me the children I deserved, not the barren fraud I married." The room exploded in gasps. My chest heaved, rage mixing with devastation. But I saw the judge's eyes harden. The admission had changed everything. The ruling was brutal but just. Daniel and Clara, exposed for their manipulation, were denied custody. The judge ruled that, for the stability and well-being of the children, they would remain under my guardianship, at least until Ethan turned 18. It should have been a victory. But as I turned to Ethan, his face was pale, his eyes brimming with tears. He whispered, "You knew? You knew all along and never told me?" I shook my head frantically. "No, Ethan, I found out only recently. Please believe me." But he couldn't, not then. He pulled away, retreating to Clara's side despite the ruling. Lily clung to me, sobbing, but even she glanced at Clara with longing. I had won the battle, yet somehow I felt I had lost the war. Months passed. The villa grew quiet. Ethan stayed in his room, distant and unreachable. Lily, though still by my side, asked questions I could not answer. Why do I look like Aunt Clara? Why does Dad hate you? Why can't we all live together? And Clara never stopped. She haunted the edges of our lives, sending letters, whispering in the children's ears whenever she could. A shadow I could never banish. One evening, as the sun bled across the sky, I stood at the balcony of the villa. My villa, the house I had built with my hands, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. And I realized walls could be rebuilt, fortunes could be lost and regained, but trust, once broken, could never be restored. I was Veronica, 39 years old, and I had survived betrayal deeper than blood. Yet, as I looked at Ethan's closed door and Lily's tear-stained face, I wondered, had I truly survived? Or was I only beginning to live inside the ruins of a life I once believed was mine? The villa stood tall against the twilight, a monument to love, betrayal, and the fragile threads that hold families together. And I knew the ghosts of Clara and Daniel would haunt me forever.